This course we will focus about crystal ball software. This software is based on Monte Carlo simulation technique, which is the famous for that will be used for different function or different business schemes that we are working with. This software is from Oracle. I think it will be owned by Oracle for 15 years. Before it will be a separate company and then merged or acquired by the Oracle to have the software. This software, as I mentioned, it will be very easy. And the software, it will be based on Monte Carlo simulation technique. Okay, we will illustrate through the course what about the Monte Carlo simulation technique, how can we use statistics method. We describe the statistic methods. We describe we study about the probability distribution, regression analysis. How can we select the best probability distributions that we have? So it will be as a statistics course, but in brief, in addition to the crystal ball software, because you should have on this knowledge. But when you attend, you should have at least know about the Excel sheet. How can you make equation through Excel sheet? Really, I depend about it. And we can see it here. This is the software. We can see here together from this screen. This is the software. We can see here the crystal ball. So one of the main menu here, when you make download for this software, the software it will be easy and very simple, and it can be download free to sometime with from Oracle site. And when you download it and make installation, it will be included inside the icon. You can see it. Here's the first one, crystal ball, and this is the menu that will be used during the crystal ball. I will discuss about it in detail through this course. This is the example that will be discussed through this course. Okay, and this is the main item. So it will be depend on the Excel sheet. So we have some equation on the Excel sheet will be done as a simulation of your case. So you should have the knowledge how can you use the Excel sheet. But for the probability distributions, for the statistics and everything, it will be discussed together about it. Don't worry about it. How can we read the data? How can you make analysis of the data and so on? The main question, how can or what the reason for use it is, for my example, for me as an example, I use it for 3 cases. I make my PhD by my PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, for the how to predict the life of the concrete structure, okay, or called reliability analysis for the concrete structure. I done it by crystal ball. Then when I go through my courses about the economic analysis for oil and gas project, how can you do it? I also use by this software. Then nowadays I use it for many of my courses, and when I already applied for some projects about the cost estimation, how can you use the software to doing the cost estimation, to define about the contingency factor, unallocated provisions, and so on. And the other thing can be used by the software. We have the Monte Carlo simulations. We have also can be used for the economic analysis, whatever the projects that you are working with, economic analysis in general. But you should build the model. You should have, for example, if you need to calculate net present value, you need to calculate IRR and so on, internal rate of return and so on. So you should have this knowledge. Okay. And then make the model based on it and use the software. So the software like the word, or like the knife, or like the other tools, can be used whatever your application or your business need. You need to use it. If you use the project planning, you make scheduling and use the BERT method. When make reliability analysis and optimization, what about the optimum solutions that I need? It will be updated from around 9 years to have how can we make decisions, and also for the decision making, how can we do the decision together about the forecasting. For example, This is the tools predicted simulation. What about, for example, the marketing? If I make the sales that will happen, for example, here for the shampoo, or sales for any product, and you have a database or have a history. For the database of the history, what about the future? What about expected of the future? So use for the marketing. For the weather, another thing, if I have the weather temperatures for last 5 years and so on, and I need to expect for the next year or next 2 years. The gold price, what about, but I need to have the history of the gold price for the 1 year and so on, and make the analysis for the future, and so on. So any need to have a forecasting, we have a tools we discuss it together in detail. How can you use it to make predicting for the forecasting as per your history data? And also we have a tool that we make the sensitivity analysis. Okay, when you have the sensitivity analysis, in this case, we can also apply it to know what about the factors that more affecting your projects and so on. What's about the main variables in your model that affecting it. And from this, we can deal with it, and we can discuss it. How can we make mitigation? How can we make follow-up during the business for this factor to make this variable more control during your business? Okay, so in this case, we need to see together what about this that we have, we can be used. We can see this some example, and we can open also the crystal ball software. For example, we have it. We have a lot of examples. For example, one of them, future apartment. Let us open it together. For example, for this case, what about if you have the number of the rental? If you have some houses or room I need to make a rented, what about the first assumption? What about the monthly expenses? What about the revenue? So we need to define according to this case, what about the revenue? When I define a price, if you make the price here, it will be a fixed. Here a fixed price. And here according to unit, here's the expenses to maintenance and so on. So what will be the profit and loss that will happen for this business? This for an example. Another example that can be discussed also for the here for the shampoo sales. For example, here we're discussing the detail. I have the week, I have the unit sale. How can we predict the future sale for this? I have this sales, about the sales for every month, about the value of the sales that happen. What about expecting the future sales? Another example, which is the hotel design. Here, according to this design, I have a standard room, gold room, platinum room. Okay, in this case, what about the value for the price? I need to decide what about the price. Here the decision, yellow makes the decision. What about the price for each room? What about the best price to have a high revenue that I have? So according to this optimizations scenario, we can obtain the best price that we have. Another example that also about the project cost estimations. Here about the project cost estimation, and we discuss together how can we obtain the contingency. If 20% is enough, or make it 15, or make it 10, or make it 30, so on, according to if your business need to make some cost estimation. And also here for the another example. Here we have this oil development. This focus about the decision and calculate the net present value in case of the economic analysis that we need. And I have a separate course to calculate the economic analysis or commercial. It focus about the technique of the present value, IRR, about oil and the gas and so on. I have this separate module, but also As a tools, we can discuss the tools here for the crystal ball also. Can be used as a tool here. Here's a very interesting item about the workforce in case of the bank. Here as a bank insert about the teller. Here teller 1, teller 2, teller 3. How can I make my model here to obtain the best option that we have here? Here's the summary according as you mentioned to play for this. What about in level 1, level 2, level 3? What about the teller to define about the cost of the teller and revenue and so on according to the number of the customer, expecting number of the customer. What about the start simulation, the start entry of the bank, the enter time and maximum time. What about the time period needed for every customer according to probability and so on. So by software I can define what about the optimum number of the teller in your bank. Another module also here about the critical path. If you need to calculate the PERT method, this is an example, and it would be very excellent model here to define here by. So I mention here, for example, define here the critical path. Okay, according to the model. The building for this Excel sheet is built to you according to your skills in doing Excel sheet. Whatever the way you're doing, no problem for this. And some knowledge with statistics will define together. For example, here's the crystal ball. You find about here the scenario. It will be triangle distribution. What about this value? How can I choose this value? We'll discuss it together. No problem for this during the course. What about the define of this value? How can we obtain it and so on. But the model itself depends on your model and your skills when you're dealing with the crystal balls. Another exciting one also here in another module also. Here is other example also. It is very interesting also about the future apartment. If you have number of units to be rented, we have 35. Another example. Here rent per unit. We assume here is the rent. Here you can see it will be the maximum, the minimum, and every run it will be step and then define about the optimum value that will define here. Here in his model, we have knowledge according to his business plan and his business scenario that it will be number of the unit rented, the price, when the price it will be increased, the number of the unit rented it will be decreased. So according to his equation, according to his knowledge of this, the market research and so on, so define his model, which model will be built through the Excel sheet. And then what about the target? I need to define what about the optimum price value I will do for this apartment that I need to be rent. So when you have the business and have the model, I need to define what about the optimum price that I need to be announced for this. Okay, so it is very important and very exciting tools that can be used for different schemes that we can hear. Also, it will be in case of reliability. I can see here reliability, for example, for helical springs. If you have an engineering, so we need to find about the diameter, the coil, and so on. What about the reliability of this? What about the reliability can absorb the load? What about the ability of absorb the load? It will be affect the design of the spring and so on. Here is the parameter, here is the material, here is the equation. What about the load corresponding to the strength of the material and so on. As I mentioned, I make it for my engineering background. What about the ability of failure of the structure and so on. So as I mentioned here, these tools can be used for anything. I will be focused about here for this. We'll focus about these tools in general that can be used in anyone. So we have statistics in general, discuss about the probability, all the distributions in general, according to your business need, engineering, marketing, sales, need to focus about the forecasting, what about the future marketing, what and so on. Economic, if you need to have an economic analysis, whatever your business, these tools, it will be discussed in detail. And thank you a lot. And if you have any question or any inquiry, let me know during the course or even after the course. Thanks a lot.